America, welcome back to another round of Sound Retirement Radio. So glad to have you tuning in to episode number 374. The title is, Can I Retire at Age 60 with $1.4 million? But let's get the morning started right. Two ways. The first one is by renewing our mind, and this one it comes to us from Hosea 8, verse 7. They sow the wind and reap the whirlwind. The stalk has no head, it will produce no flower. Were it to yield grain, foreigners would swallow it up. What did the 0 say to the 8? Hey, that belt looks good on you. So in today's podcast, I wanted to provide you with a hypothetical scenario that I created for a couple called John and Nancy. And so let's say John and Nancy, they're both 59 years old. They're going to be turning 60 this year. They've saved $1.4 million for retirement. They're debt-free. Their house is valued at $500,000. Now, the question that John and Nancy have is, can I retire? I had posted this question in a video on this on Facebook, and it received a lot of attention and many comments. Let me share a few of the highlights. This one person says, how does one amass $1.4 million and not have the brains to figure it out? Then he made kind of a snarky comment and said, they must have inherited it. Tony said, $1.4 million seems like a large sum, but it won't last much if it's not well administered. Randy said, seriously, what kind of person would need to ask if $1.4 million is enough? William said, that's 1 month worth of fuel right now. Bunch of laughing, smiley faces. I think Scott got it right with his comment, and he wrote, it depends. Of course, the follow-up to Scott's statement would be, it depends on what? Well, it depends on how much you spend. It depends on the rate of return that your money will grow. It depends on if you get hit with a really bad sequence of returns right when you retire. It depends on how long you're going to live. It depends on how much inflation will impact your spending over time. It depends on how much you'll have to pay in taxes. It depends on which accounts you're going to dip into first. It depends on what kind of medical expenses you're going to encounter. It depends on how often you will have to help out the kids financially. It depends on if Social Security will cut benefits in the future. Here are some of the specifics. John has $1 million saved in his 401k. His wife, Nancy, has $400,000 in a Roth IRA. Earlier in their life, they had converted all of her IRA money to a Roth, and so now $400,000 is in a Roth. She's planning to start her Social Security at 62, and we're assuming that her Social Security benefit will be $1,500 per month at that point. John is planning to postpone taking his Social Security to age 70 so that he can earn those delayed retirement credits, and his benefit will be about $3,000 per month by the time he gets to age 70 and starts Social Security. We're going to assume for this scenario that his life expectancy is age 89 and that her life expectancy is age 92. So in today's podcast, I want to run a few scenarios to try to answer the question, can I retire? How much can John and Nancy spend, assuming a low rate of return, say 3% per year, and modest inflation of 3% per year? Or what if they earn 4% per year and inflation runs at 4% per year? Should they dip into their 401k first or their Roth first? Now that we have the data for the baseline scenario, if we assume that they want to spend $7,000 per month starting out and that those expenses will increase by 3% per year, and their investments are only growing at 3% per year, we get to age 83 before they've depleted their money down to zero. So that's not going to work because life expectancy is age 89 and 92. Most people don't want to run out of money before they run out of life. If we assume that they want to spend $6,000 per month as the starting point, they may make it to age 90 before they run out of money. And if they want to see their money last beyond their life expectancy, her life expectancy of age 92, the most they could spend would be a starting amount of $5,700 per month, which is about $68,400 per year. Now remember, this is assuming that they're only earning 3% per year and that inflation is increasing at 3% per year. If we increase the rate of return from 3% to 4% per year, then we could also increase the starting income from $5,700 per month to $6,100 per month, or about $73,200 per year to start. Remember, we're assuming all of their expenses are increasing at 3% per year. So even though initially they're living on $73,200 per year, by the time they get to year 10, their spending will have increased to $98,374 per year because of that 3% inflation. Now, in order to net $73,200, we're assuming today's tax rates stay constant throughout retirement. That first year of retirement, they're going to have a tax liability of almost $6,000. So the total withdrawal needed in year one is not the expense of just $73,200, but they actually need to take out $79,183 to cover the tax liability. This, of course, assumes that they're withdrawing from the 401k first and then taking money out of the Roth IRA second. If we change the withdrawal order and assume we use the Roth IRA first and then dip into the 401k second, then they actually run out of money sooner. Now their money's only going to last to age 92. So even though their taxes are lower the first 7 years of retirement, they end up depleting their resources faster in the long run. When we dip into the 401k first instead of the Roth IRA, their money lasts to age 94. So just deciding which accounts to dip into first can really help extend how long your money will last. But what if we set the withdrawal order to take distributions equally from both the Roth and the 401k? Well, doing that causes the money to last until age 93. So in this particular situation, the optimal strategy would be to take money from the 401k first, allow the Roth to continue to grow tax-free, and then take withdrawals from the Roth IRA once the 401k had been depleted. One of the reasons it works out this way is because when Social Security kicks in, the Roth IRA income does not count against the provisional income rules, which means by the time they get to age 81 and need to start dipping into the Roth, they essentially have a zero tax liability because none of their Social Security ends up being taxable and none of the Roth IRA income is taxable. If we assume a 4% growth rate and we assume the optimal withdrawal strategy by taking money from the 401k first instead of seeing our expenses increase at 3% per year, what if we increase our expenses at 4% per year? In that scenario, if inflation runs at 4% per year, your money's growing at 4% per year, and your initial withdrawal is $6,100 per month, then you end up spending all of your liquid investments by age 86, which again is before life expectancy. So these are just a few of the things that you can play around with in the retirement budget calculator. Retirement doesn't need to be a mystery. Everyone has a plan that's going to be unique to them. Maybe you're going to want to spend more in the first 10 to 15 years of retirement during your go-go years and spend less as you move into the slow-go years. You can create a model to test things out in the calculator. Or maybe you want to assume high inflation for the first 5 years of retirement expenses and lower inflation for the remainder of retirement. Or maybe you want to test to see what would happen if Social Security income does drop by 20% in the year 2032. Or what if you have a long-term care event in the future and higher medical expenses that start at age 80? By using the calculator, we're helping people really understand their financial future. We're helping people achieve clarity, confidence, and freedom. We're empowering people to better understand if they can afford to retire. And we're taking the guesswork out of all this. In the show notes, I'm going to post a YouTube video that I created that shows you a similar type of scenario where we're trying to answer this question, is $1.4 million going to work? Have you saved enough? So you've saved $1.4 million for retirement. Can you retire? Well, like Scott said in the Facebook comments, it depends. You need to run your numbers to find out what is possible for you. If this is not something you enjoy, I recommend you hire a financial advisor who can help you. In fact, I would recommend that you use the calculator to create your baseline and then hire an advisor to help you make sure that your numbers are correct. Like that old saying goes, measure twice, cut once. Or maybe we could say, measure twice, retire once. Until next week, this is Jason signing.